over the arena. Gary Anderson has been strutting around all weekend like he owns the place. And in the absence of Michael van Gerwen, he is the top dog.
Yeah, world number 2, highest ranked player here this weekend, and he made the final yesterday. He's made the final again today. He has underlined that position as the top ranked player in the event, but he cannot take Ian White lightly. Look, Ian White, among his 3 wins last year in the Pro Tour, was a 6-0 win in a final against Michael van Gerwen, the top man in world darts. And he does have a 6-0 victory against Gary Anderson in his career as well. He can do that, Ian White.
Yeah, that whitewash win for Ian White came here in Wigan as well in a Players' Championship semi-final back in 2013. Incredibly, the pair haven't met since 2015 at the World Grand Prix, and it's an astonishing stat I found that Robert Thornton and Ian White, who played out the semi-final, hadn't met since the same tournament. Players that often run deep into these Pro Tour events have somehow managed to avoid each other for a couple of years.
Yeah, it is very strange, considering. I know that Gary doesn't play all the Pro Tour events, but Ian White certainly does. Ian White plays everything.
Quick quiz question for the viewers at home. Ian White, when he beat Gary Anderson 6-0 in the Players' Championship in Wigan in the semi-final, who did he beat in the final? I'll give you 5 seconds to answer. The clock's ticking.
It might be enough time to take out the 170 for Gary Anderson. It might be. Oh, and he's not far away. Misses the bullseye for the biggest check out of the lot to kick this final off. White looking at a 157. It's a good finish. Treble 20, treble 19 tops. They're regular targets for these players. Oh, and he just strays into the skinny bit of the 7.
Well, we'll allow you more thinking time as we'll see if Anderson cleans up the 25. Usually goes, well, used to go 1-12. Now he has changed his MO to that route, and it's proved to be effective, and he's taken the first leg. The answer to our little bit of PDC TV trivia was Andy Jenkins, no less.
Is there a prize for that? If you guessed that?
No one guessed it, I'm being told, so no need to find out if there's a prize.
I bet there's one person who guessed it.
140.
Some 40 for Anderson to kick off this second leg. These guys have won 6 games each to reach this stage. The climax of Players' Championship 14. £10,000 on the line, and White
121.
Can't find the first 180.
Yeah, both days Anderson has seemingly warmed his way into the tournament. And warmed being the operative word, because it has been absolutely baking here in Wigan. But for the second consecutive day, he started with a 6-5 win today against Mickey Mansell, then beat Harry Robinson before wins against Kyle Anderson, Dirk van Dijvenbode and Richard North, in which he dropped only 5 legs in that hat-trick of victories. And then Rob Cross in the semi-final, who is one of the hardest players to beat right now.
Yeah, he certainly is. And Gary Anderson does fire in the first 180. It leaves him 84 for a potential 11 darter to break the White throw and go 2-0 up. And he is going to get a poke at that 84. Because White's just frustratingly having a few darts into the 5s and 1s at the minute.
Yeah, it happened in the semi-final, and then he changed his equipment, something in his equipment. But this time Anderson does want double 12, and he finds double 12 and doubles his lead. Beaten yesterday in the final by Steve Beaton. He doesn't want to suffer the same fate today, and he's going the right way about it.
Well, sometimes you get the feeling with Gary Anderson, and once he gets something set in his mind, once he's given something to really spur him on, then there's very little that can stop him. You know, we saw that when he went on to claim his first world title. I just don't think there was any stopping the man. That whole year, something clicked. Probably defeat to Michael van Gerwen, the previous World Championship, a game that he never thought he should have lost.
100.
And then he just set his mind to it. And that year, he dominated. He won everything. And there was no stopping him in that World Championship. And of course, he went on to defend the title the following year, even though he wasn't as dominant on the Pro Tour as Ian White. Does find his first 180.
Yeah, Anderson has made no secret that he used that defeat against MVG as motivation.
95.
And he kind of rewrote the history books, because he had this tag of being the best player never to win the World Championship, went on to win it twice. White in a good position to break back, but Gary Anderson is not averse to a 170 finish. He's had one already today.
137.
Well, he very nearly took it out a moment ago. Not going to take it out this time around. So Ian White, having seen Gary Anderson chuck an 11-darter at him to break the throw, threatening to do exactly the same back at him and break back. Oh my word, he's missed the big number. So he's only going to get 1 dart. 35 left. You would think it'll be 3 for double 16. And this might need to go, Ian. And it doesn't, and it might mean that it's 3-0. Double 18 for Gary Anderson to get a firm grip on this final.
Double 9. Looks like a good guide.
Game shot.
And proves to be so. And it's a 3-0 lead. And Ian White facing the very real prospect of being whitewashed as Anderson bids to return the favour.
Well, Ian White knows what it's like to whitewash Gary Anderson. He knows what it's like to whitewash
95.
the best player in the world in a final of one of these Pro Tour events, having done exactly that last year. He was tantalisingly close to winning an 8th PDC title just a few weeks ago when he was beaten in the deciding leg by Rob Cross.
Yeah, he had chances to win that match as well. White's run to the final today included a victory against Gerwyn Price. That was the first time that they'd met since Price broke Ian White's heart in the UK Open, and White beat Price 6-2 today. And you just wonder if he's been able to use that defeat against Rob Cross to make him more determined to claim a title as soon as possible.
Well, we had his quarter-final game against Jeffrey Desvan, who's been one of the real surprise packages today. White looking for another maximum here, fills it up, gets it. And Jeffrey Desvan, this is a man who's only made 1 quarter-final in senior PDC darts, and that was a couple of years back. He's gone on this run today, having won on the development tour, and hopefully it's a catalyst to really unleash his potential. He was great, and he was 5-2 up on Ian White, but maybe it was nerves from the 21-year-old.
98.
Or maybe it was just Ian White found another level. I think it was a bit of both, but he battled back from 5-2 down, won it 6-5. That got him that semi-final meeting with Robert Thornton, which we know what happened as Gary Anderson fires in a 3-treble visit to at least apply some pressure on this.
Well, the whitewash doesn't look likely right now, but having said that, Diamond White is only going to get 1 dart at double. It's his favourite double, but it's not his friend right now.
105 for another break of throw. And this could be curtains for the Diamond Ian White. Double top for Anderson.
65.
It's high.
Well, the 174 gave him the opportunity. Ian White can breathe a little easier.
Game shot.
And he certainly can now as he lands double 8 to get a leg on the board. Only a hold of throw. And when you're playing the likes of Gary Anderson, these are the opportunities that you've got to jump all over. Not just missed doubles, it's every time they have a visit without a treble or even a ton or less.
Well, look, Gary Anderson has been complaining all weekend about how hot it is here and how it's not ideal
42.
conditions. But then again, he still made the final yesterday. He's in the final today. He's just won in Dubai, man, beating Michael van Gerwen, where they both averaged 110 in the final.
98.
The heat, as much as he may complain, is not an issue for the Flying Scotsman. And Ian White has looked one of the calmest and most at home in these conditions that we've seen over the course of this weekend as well.
97.
Yeah, it's added another little interesting factor to this weekend. Obviously, these Pro Tour tournaments are a test of ability and stamina and endurance. Got to win 7 games to win the title. But the heat, certainly, many players have suggested, has been a factor. And you've got to look at the players that have been consistent in both events, and no player has been more consistent than Gary Anderson.
Well, I suggest Gary Anderson will want to go into every venue and crank up the thermostat for the rest of the year, because he's shown in Dubai and here in Wigan this weekend that he's quite capable of dealing with it. That is his second 180. Gary Anderson, 4 in this match, 2 apiece. Anderson hitting the 174 as well in that previous leg.
And down to double 12, the double that won him both of his world titles, and it's won him a couple of legs in this match. 4-1 to the Flying Scotsman.
Well, Gary Anderson has had runs in his career. Once he gets to finals, He's won a number in a row. He's lost a number in a row. It just seems to have
125.
gone that way. The start of this year, Gary Anderson beaten in the World Championship final and the final of the Masters, and then 2 finals in the UK
99.
Open qualifiers. Losing to Whitlock, Michael van Gerwen a couple of times. Of course, he lost to Steve Beaton yesterday. In between, he'd won 3, beat Peter Wright twice, and obviously MVG in that Dubai Masters final.
60.
It would be a welcome return to winning ways in a final, because with the way that Gary Anderson's career has gone, he tends to lose finals in bunches, and having lost
44.
yesterday to Beaton, he might have been concerned that he could be in for another run of defeats in finals, but it doesn't look likely right now. 4-1 up, 2 more legs needed.
You could see Anderson having some kind of stretch in the background there. Just felt that something was off with his previous visits. It's back on now, look. Yeah, stretch in between every visit, Gary Anderson.
140.
Couldn't quite fill it up. But White might, and it would be perfect.
140.
140 is not bad. Gets him at least 1 dart at double when he returns, but Anderson's breathing down his neck.
100.
80 needed for the diamond. Cannot afford any of those stray darts into the 5s and 1s here. Doesn't. 2 at double 10. No help to him that.
60.
And Anderson looking at 118. He's already taken out 84. Came close to 105. Treble 20. Double 19. It's 5-1. It's a ton plus checkout, and the world number 2 appears to be cruising towards another title this year.
Yeah, it's just typical stuff from Gary Anderson. Swept through the field as the day has gone on. Found himself in the final, determined not to suffer the same fate as he did in yesterday's decider, when he was defeated by Steve Beaton, who spoke to you after the game, Dan, and provided a good insight and said, look, tomorrow's a different day. I could just get beat first round, and that's exactly what happened to Steve Beaton today. Well, it's been a kind of similar day for Gary Anderson, but this time he's on the verge of trousering the £10,000 winner's cheque.
Well, quite frankly, if Ian White does turn this around, this would rival even his 6-0 defeat of MVG in my eyes.
130.
It's all well and good winning 6 legs in a row against a man who hasn't managed to get on the board, but winning 5 on the spin against the world number 2, who's already shown he's playing some very, very good darts and is on a roll, I think that this would probably eclipse it.
$140.
Well, it's not a bad way to start going about it, but Anderson could get himself down to a finish if he can fill it up. Couldn't do that, so there is a chance in this leg for Ian White. He's got a couple of visits to turn this 187 into 0 and get another leg on the board.
That's another one where he's not managed to stay straight, and it's hurting the diamond. It's hurt him a number of times in this match. 95 scored, it's good. It leaves him a 2-darter, but Anderson could well pile on the pressure here, and that is exactly what he is doing.
130.
Well, White's got a decision to make here. He can guarantee himself a dart at the bull if he finds a 25, but I think he might gamble and go for the treble 20. Well, he has gone for the bullseye, and he hasn't even found the 25. He's 15, I think, so that's 77 left. Needs a treble now. And it could be curtains for Ian White in this final. Over to Gary Anderson.
20 for double top for Gary Anderson. He has not missed much when it's come to the doubles in this final, but he's missed a big number and only gets 1 match dart. Double top, and double top is there. The Flying Scotsman does make amends for yesterday, beaten in the final by Steve Beaton, but storms back in Wigan to win 6-1 against the Diamond Ian White.
Gary Anderson picks up his 3rd Players' Championship title of 2017. Reached the final yesterday in the heat here, but was beaten by Steve Beaton, as you watched here on live PDC TV. Great weekend's work for the Flying Scotsman, the world number 2, the highest ranked player in the tournament. Second yesterday, number 1 today, patiently waiting for Dan Dawson to arrive so he can tell us what he thinks about his performance. Just having a little stretch out, and we will hear from Gary Anderson in a moment. A hat-trick of Players' Championship titles for him, and he's going to speak to Dan Dawson now. The champion once again is Gary Anderson.
Congratulations. You've just beaten Ian White in the final here. A convincing display, 6-1. You've just got better and better as the day's gone on, haven't you?
I don't know, it's kind of the last couple of games it's kind of dragged in about Ian the same. You know, it's been a long day and it's been really hot, especially in the oven here. You know, it's baking, but I mean, like I say, Ian, I'll tell you, it's hard work, these tournaments, you know, and it's been absolutely baking here.
Both days, you've made the final yesterday, beaten by Steve Beaton. You've got to the final and made amends. Did the defeat in the final yesterday spur you on for today at all?
No, you know, it's my typical Sunday. You know, I usually last about 12:30 and I'm on my way home. But no, yes, Steve was fantastic yesterday. You know, I'm a great lover of the old boys getting written off, and then they stand up here and show you what they can still do. You know, we talk about all the young guns that are coming through, getting shots at this and getting shots at that. To me, you can't see past the old boys. The old boys still do the business. You know, the young ones are not quite there yet. It's the old boys that are doing the darts.
You've just won in Dubai. You've made the final yesterday. You've won it here today. You cannot complain about the heat, Gary. You actually play your best in the heat, don't you? Ian's off. Ian is off. Yeah, you can't complain about this heat. You absolutely revel in this heat, surely.
You want boxer shorts?
No, I don't.
Or my socks? Absolutely. But Dubai was hot. I mean, yesterday was really humid, and today as well. Oh dear.
The Diamond Ian White there, basically a small child trapped in a 46-year-old man from Stokes' body. Look, Gary, you've won 3 of these titles this year. You've obviously won in Dubai as well. Do you feel that this year could be like that year where you built up to your first World Championship, where you win a succession of titles and it just builds up into something spectacular at Ali Pali?
It would be nice, you know. Ali Pali is what we're aiming for, you know. And I've kind of come October, that's when I really start to kind of get the head on, you know. But since Dubai, I think I've thrown my darts once, and that was the World Cup for about 16 minutes. I think we lasted on stage, you know. Came back and I went away on holiday, so I got back on Tuesday. So really, since Dubai, I threw my darts at the World Cup, and that's been it since yesterday.
But does winning lead to more winning? I mean, you know, that year leading up to the first world title, I mean, you were just sweeping aside everybody. There was pretty much little question about who was most likely to win tournaments. It was yourself. I mean, are you feeling like that about your game now? I mean, you've turned up having not thrown a dart or barely thrown a dart, and you've battered most people here this weekend.
Yeah, I played well. I've surprised myself, you know, but when I was playing well back 2-3 years ago when I lifted the first title, I was working hard, you know. All the boys had me at the pub just about every night that I had at home playing, you know, and we were putting in 60, 70, 80 legs a night, you know, Monday, Tuesday. I think that's when the Premier League was on. I was away the Wednesday, Thursday playing darts, Friday, Saturday playing darts back home. Monday and Tuesday they were dragging me to the pub and practicing, you know, so that definitely helps, you know. I've not had that over the last 2-3 years, you know. I've been on the road.
Well, something still appears to be working. Gary Anderson, not only the finalist yesterday, beaten by Steve Beaton, but winning here in Wigan, our last day of Pro Tour action in Wigan for 2017. But we will be back in the Players' Championship Series in Barnsley. We've got that weekend in Ireland as well. But the next live action you'll be seeing will be the European Tour in Vienna, the Austrian Darts Open. That's just coming up on Friday afternoon. 3 days of action. £25,000 to the winner, but your winner here today, Gary Anderson, beating Ian White with a stunning display in the final 6-1.